Today, Kasani and myself have composed and edited a video for SAC purposes on the exploration of nature versus nurture within the text. So, to begin. Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, set out to tell an engrossing Gothic tale of a natural philosopher driven mad with the desire to create life, and in this case, the creature. Enriching the story with major themes such as isolation, monstrosity, and the recently mentioned nature versus nurture brings us to explore the ideal theme. What is nature and nurture?
Nature versus nurture is a debate between psychologists and scientists whether or not an individual inherits these traits throughout life, or whether these traits are gained through experiences an individual endures. So how does this connect to the story of Frankenstein? Although the upbringing of the creature surpasses the experience he endures, the need to amplify the exploration of evidence that shows us, or you, what was more responsible for him to become who he is at the end of the book.
Which leads us to, how does nature make up the character of the creature? We learn who he is as Mary Shelley personifies the creature through a poetic use of literature to fit the character, and does this in a logical and fitting manner, by having the creature learn from the de Lacys. Ultimately, it reveals the nature of kindness the creature comprises, and this personification helps accentuate the creature's being as he is initially kind and even curious toward his environment surroundings. To build upon this, the creature represents innocence, but how does he represent this concept? Supporting this innocence, Mary Shelley intelligently ensures the creature has a realization during an evil act that, even though stealing their food was a first initiative for survival, he soon knows that it is wrong. Sure, being oblivious to the family's poverty can almost give him a get-out-of-jail-free card, but it's his acts that shows his true nature as he begins to chop wood for the de Lacys family as an act of sympathy. By analysing the de Lacys, he also learns how to read, write, and develops an acute knowledge of intelligence during his stay. This gives us a clear indication of the creature's natural ability of benevolence, despite the amount of rejection that humanity offered, therefore revealing his initial nature as kind. This excerpt from Frankenstein truly shows this theme in action. Felix darted forward and with supernatural force tore me from his father, to whose knees I clung. In a transport of fury, he dashed me to the ground and struck me violently with a stick. I could have torn him limb from limb, as the lion rends the antelope, but my heart sank within me as with bitter sickness, and I refrained. I saw him on the point of repeating his blow when, overcome by pain and anguish, I quitted the cottage, and, in the general tumult, escaped unperceived to my hovel. This passage, although relatively action-based, gives a sympathetic view on the creature, further proving the monster's nature of benevolence, as it's said that he clings to the father and buries any feelings of rage or evil within himself that he could unleash upon the de Lacys. Clinging to the father is a small detail that importantly paints how desperate the creature wants to be loved, and with the burying of rage reveals his true nature of, once again, benevolence. Leads us to Kasani's next segment.
On the other end of the spectrum, the upbringing of the creature plays a major task in building the character as it assembles the qualities that make up who he becomes. This is known as nurture. The appearance of nurture is firstly discovered when the creature is given life by his ideal creator, Victor Frankenstein, who miraculously plays God, yet distinguishes the love that God is supposed to give to his own creation. He quickly ignores the most essential role of that position, horrified by its deformity and ugliness, and rejects the creature almost instantly. With no one to guide the man-figured creature, whose soul is merely only a child, he stumbles upon a world that is foreign to him, observing every aspect of life on his own with no idea of the consequences. First-hand experiences support his idea of the world, as no external support is given. An example of this is, when I was oppressed by cold, I found a fire which had been left by some wandering beggars, and was overcome with delight at the warmth I experienced from it. In my joy, I thrust my hand into the live embers, but quickly drew it again with a cry of pain. How strange, I thought, that the same cause should produce such opposite effects. This not only develops upon the nurture aspect, as this symbolizes how destructive and persistent the world is against the creature, especially with his curiosity, which recaps and foreshadows upon how he is treated whenever the creature makes an outgoing attempt. To enhance upon the fire. Fire is a very central theme in Frankenstein, as it represents destruction, especially pain when the monster attempts to make contact with humanity or his environment. To further his abandonment and isolation from his creator, he describes his first appearance in a world unknown to him. It was dark when I awoke. I felt cold also, and half frightened, as it were, instinctively finding myself so desolate. This shows that no care was given to him during the time of his birth, and the suffering of being desolated at his first speck of life gives an indication as to what the creature might have felt. He also implies in the novel, I was a poor, helpless, miserable wretch. I knew and could distinguish nothing, but feeling pain invade me on all sides, I sat down and wept. This quote also illustrates the demolishment of love and care that is replaced with isolation during the beginning of his birth. This contributes to nurture, as the effects of his upbringing may have associated with what influenced him to become who he is. Because if guidance were given to him at the time, he would have understood the difference between right and wrong.
By the end of the story, the creature has gone through a character arc that is related to becoming evil, as many events have shaped and even transformed his nature from benevolent and curious to determined and revengeful. This change is clearly illustrated to have begun after the events at the DeLacy's, however, is continuous throughout the story with the killing of William, the strangulation of Henry Clerval, the framing of Jasmine, and the revenge-fueled quest upon which to bring harm to Victor's way of life. This leads us to the creature we have come to know, being diminished. Although we completely understand the creature's change and new persona, as Mary Shelley has tightly woven certain events into his final portrayal by the end of the book, however, it's good to note the exact event where the creature gives Victor one last chance of redemption upon the creature's persona by asking for a mate. Asking for a mate still continues the level of the creature's desperation towards his situation, but it also marks the final straw that sets the creature into pure revenge. Now, this is important to note, as this event basically determines the answer on whether it is the creature's nature or nurture which changes him into the creature we know by the end of the book. Which leads us to the final segment. Using the creature at the end of the book as a basis for the determination of whether or not nature is the culprit or nurture is, throughout many instances of the novel and this essay, it is made very clear by Mary Shelley that nurture is the ultimate deciding factor upon the creature, as other actions influence his nature, as others would influence a child in the same way. All actions the creature would take would be that of revenge or reaction of others, therefore showing that nurture is responsible.